I got a great feeling about this week. These are my NFL DFS picks for week 11. What's going on, Couch fam? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain. Let's go right into my picks. There are two big games to target, and that's this Ravens-Texans game. A lot of people are going to be picking Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson, and I'll probably pick them a little bit, but I'm going all in on Drew Brees. I think his ceiling is high, his floor is high. As long as he doesn't get vultured by Taysom Hill, I think it's looking good. He had a bad week last week against the Falcons, but against the Bucks, he's going to absolutely bounce back. He's not going to let it happen 2 times in a row. Bucks run defense is decent, pretty solid. Their pass defense is one of the worst in the league. It's so bad. He's going to light it up. Now that they're healthy, the Saints that is, Kamara's looking good. Latavius is looking good. He's got Ginn. He's got Jared Cook. He's got Traquan Smith. And, of course, he's got Mike Thomas. Can't guard Mike. I see him going off, priced at $6,900, going against the Bucks. This is going to be a shootout. This is a game where I can be pretty confident in my projections. And when it comes to that Texans-Ravens game, I love Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, but I can't really project what's going to happen exactly. Ravens defense has been playing amazing. Lamar Jackson could be MVP of the league. And so I'm going to have him a little bit, but I'm more confident what's going to happen in this Saints game. This video is sponsored by Prolytics. Prolytics gives extremely accurate projections to help you win in DFS, and they're giving away their services for free for 2 weeks. Prolytics weeds out all the insignificant data, and their AI technologies are constantly learning, crunching the data that really matters, which in turn increases your chances of winning. They send out a cheat sheet every week with their top picks and also now their top stacks. And ever since they've been doing it the past 2 weeks, the stats featured on the cheat sheet have been the top scoring stacks in DFS. This is the last week they're offering this 2-week free trial, so make sure you follow the link below in the description and use promo code COUCH for your free trial. I've been using them for several weeks now, and I highly recommend it. Now back to the picks. Really quick, Deshaun Watson is $6,800. A little bit scared of the Ravens defense, so I won't be owning him in too many lineups. Who I do like is Jameis Winston, priced at $6,500. Again, we're targeting this game. Super shootout. Marshawn Lattimore, star cornerback for the Saints, is out. Famous Jameis's ceiling is so dang high. This could be I think this is going to be the highest scoring game of this week. Just a complete passing fest. Breeze, Winston, touchdown, just back and forth going at it. That's why I love this game as far as passing goes. Now, there are some cheaper options. I did want to talk about Sam Darnold. He is priced at $5,700. And he's a guy that I'm going to probably be fading. This is not that bad of a game to target. This is the type of game to target. It's the Jets going against Washington. It's the type of game to target where you pick one player from this game, let's say, or maybe one from each team. You don't want to have several players from the Jets, several players from Washington. Even 2 is probably a lot. You don't want to have a lot of stacks going in this game. Picking one receiver or one running back, that's not so bad in this game. See, look, this is why. I looked back at Sam Darnold's stats last year. He's only had really one game where I would say is GPP worthy, and this year he's had pretty much none. 21.7 points against the Giants. That's a dream matchup. And it's not like the Jets completely fell apart. They put up 34 points that game, and Sam Darnold only 21.7. He had the ghost game where he had negative fantasy points, and then Dallas 23.62. So it's good. He has a good chance to do well. You know, I think his ceiling is like 27 fantasy points. So if everything goes perfect and is just great, he'll squeak in and just maybe be a top 4 quarterback, which is always our target for a GPP quarterback. We want him to be top 4. I just don't see it happening. I'm fading him, and I think a few people will pick him like, oh, he's got a good matchup against Washington. So I just want to say that I think Sam Darnold has the potential to do very well, but not top 4. Highly unlikely to finish as a top 4 QB. Top 6, top 7 maybe, but we really want top 4. I'd rather go with Nick Foles. Somewhat unproven as far as being a Jags quarterback, and this year he's only played about 1 quarter, and then he got hurt, and now he's coming back. But here's what I do like about Nick Foles. We've seen him do it in the past. Last year he had a few good games on the Eagles when Wentz got hurt, and of course that incredible Super Bowl run. How many yards did he throw? Like 500 yards that game or something in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. So we know that Foles is capable of doing this, but he's really a dart. I don't have too much confidence in him. I think the Colts' run defense could be okay, but their pass defense isn't great. So I'm just saying he is cheap. He does have some upside. The trust is not really there. Not one I really want to pick this week. But I did want to give you guys some other options and also talk about Darnold. Moving on to the next position, quarterbacks basically Drew Brees or bust for me. Now I'll be picking some more. I'll change it up a little bit, but I'm going really heavy with that Bucks Saints game. For running backs, Christian McCaffrey's price went up another $500, but could very well be worth it. So last week he was okay for that price. It would have been better to avoid. Derrick Henry and Ronald Jones was the play at running back, and avoiding C-Mac was good. Then again, there was so many busts. Almost every running back was a bust last week. So having C-Mac didn't kill your lineup, but likely you weren't able to hit big because it took so much salary cap. And now I've been looking at the Falcons defense, and running backs haven't really went off on the Falcons, and that's because they've been throwing the ball. The C-Mac is no ordinary running back, so I'm probably jumping back on the C-Mac train. Last week, I had him in only about 20% of my lineups or something like that. I didn't pick him often at all because of his price. I think this week I'm going to hop back on, even though he's priced at $10,500. He's just so good against the Falcons this week, and I love him in cash games. So in cash games, I love him. In GPP, he's okay. There are some really cheap options at running back, and we're going to go over him. I guess I can't really recommend to go against drafting Zeke and Dalvin. I love them both so much, but if I had to pick one, I would go with Dalvin Cook. It's about $100, exactly $100 between them as far as the salary cap difference is. Zeke is $9,000 and Dalvin Cook is $8,900. I think people will tend to pick Zeke. I don't know, actually. It could be about tied because, yeah, it's going to be about tied. Zeke came off a really bad performance against the Vikings week 10. Now, week 11, Zeke has an incredible matchup, but I think Dalvin Cook will outscore him. I just think he's a great goal line back. He'll be heavily involved in the pass game, and he'll dominate against the Broncos. But I do like both. I just wanted to say which one I would prefer if I had to pick one between the two of them. I would go more so with Dalvin Cook. For GPPs, I do like Kamara. Not a running back I'm going to own a lot, but I just feel like nobody's going to pick him. Okay, he played Tampa Bay week 5, only put up 17 fantasy points, which is mediocre. It's not horrible, but not what you want in a GPP, not at that price. And now his price from that game is $800, $1,200 cheaper. And you look at the matchup, it has that red first next to it, so it's going to scare a lot of people. And he's really hasn't done anything since week 3. And I think, someone's gonna go off in this Saints game other than Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas is penciled in. He's going to get you 20, 30 fantasy points for sure. But someone else is going to do it, and that could be Jared Cook. It could be Ginn. That could be Traquan Smith. And it very well might be Alvin Kamara. And we just haven't really seen that ultimate wide receiver that he can be. We all know he can be that guy. and it might happen against the Bucks. I just love it pretty much because it's a contrarian. And my reason for saying, okay, why though? Why can Alvin Kamara score you points? Like, I get no one's going to be picking him. Well, how's he going to get you points? Well, I think it's going to be in the receiving game. You have to worry about Mike Thomas. You have to worry about other receivers. And I think Alvin Kamara, boom, he gets that matchup you love and touchdown. He has that big play ability, and he can do it in the run game and pass game. Like I said, I'm not going to be picking him in a lot of my lineups, but I will have him in some. If I had 10 lineups, I would have Alvin Kamara in 2 of them, just to give you an idea of how much I like him. And then we have Josh Jacobs. Pretty much the opposite. Extremely high floor. He's going to get you 70 yards and a touchdown, pretty much guaranteed. He's going to get you at least 17 fantasy points. Great matchup. Price is decent, pretty good value. Like I said, very high floor, very trustworthy. The opposite of Kamara, who's more expensive, coming off some bad games, a little bit unknown. People aren't that confident in Kamara. So I do like Josh Jacobs, especially in cash. In GPP, I'm back and forth. He's good, but I like him more in cash. In GPP, what we need from Jacobs is multiple touchdowns, and he can get that against the Bengals. He can do that for you. Let's go into some cheaper options. I'm way more excited about these cheaper guys. When it comes to wide receivers, I don't like to talk about some of the expensive, obvious picks, but I felt like I had to mention some of the obvious running back picks for this slate. Okay, so cheaper options. I think Tevin Coleman's gonna go off. I'm so excited about Tevin Coleman because he has a bad game. But just a few weeks ago against the Panthers, which is a pretty decent defense, he put up 40 fantasy points. Now he's going up against the Cardinals. Kyle Juszczyk is back. The O-line is much more healthier for the Niners, and Matt Breida is doubtful. I think Tevin Coleman is going to go off. What I'm asking for Kyle Shanahan, if I get to ask him one thing, it's please use Tevin Coleman in the receiving game. He's going to do it. Look, 4 targets, 2 targets. Like, I like that. Give this man like 6 targets. Come on, 7 targets would make my day. If this man gets 7 targets, he's going to get you at least 2 touchdowns. He's going to go off some big plays. Defense isn't going to know what to do. This is going to be a high-paced game. I love it. Priced at 6,100 going against the Cardinals. Who's next? Devin Singletary. Love it. 6,000 going against one of the worst teams in the league. They allow a ton of points. The Dolphins allow a ton of points to opposing running backs. And yeah, man, I love it. He didn't have a good week last week. Less people will pick him, and I'm going to pick him. Joe Mixon. This is the same thing kind of as I was talking about with the Jets and Washington. I like picking one Bengal. You can only choose one. Don't choose too many Bengals. So you're going with a Bengals tight end, a Bengals wide receiver, or the Bengals running back, Joe Mixon. Raiders defense is not that good. Someone's going to score. I think the Bengals will get a couple touchdowns, not more than maybe 2 touchdowns, and there's room for one player to return value and then some. All the Bengal players are cheap, and Joe Mixon is only 5,500. I don't see a lot of people picking him. And super chalk, super value pick of the day, discount pick, is going to be Brian Hill. I do have him projected as a top 10 running back in fantasy. He's going against the Panthers, but he will be used in the pass game. He will be used in the run game. He's got a decent ceiling, decent floor as well. He's going to get a lot of volume. I like him. The price is right. It's only 4,800 for Brian Hill. I want to go over 2 cheap contrarian options that don't have too much confidence in, but I like mentioning some rotational players. Kalen Ballage is one. That's 4,300. Bills haven't been able to stop the run. Now, Dolphins cannot run the ball, though, so just want to be clear on that. You're going to need Ballage to basically play fullback and score 2 goal line touchdowns for you. Very unlikely. Just wanted to throw him out there. And then we have Miles Sanders at 4,100. This one's tough too, because I feel like he's not going to be owned in a lot of lineups. Patriots defense is amazing, but the Eagles know how to run the ball. Also, Jordan Howard is questionable. He's got a stinger, and he's not cleared for physical contact yet. So I did want to throw this out there. The price is super cheap, and I think a lot more people will go higher or lower. They'll go to Brian Hill or lower to one of the guys I'm about to mention here, and that's Raheem Mostert, priced at $3,400. He's questionable, but I think that tag isn't really anything serious. From what I know, he's not realistically endangered of missing week 11. For this price, excellent. Matt Breida is doubtful. And what's so cool about Raheem Mostert is that you can easily do a quick swap if you wanted another rotational player and pick the third running back for the Niners, and that's Jeff Wilson, who is supposedly the goal line back. And so touchdowns are realistic in this matchup against the Cardinals with no Matt Breida. And that's what I really did like, though. Mostert, 3,400 people will pick him. Not too many people would pick Jeff Wilson, I don't think. And you can, boom, easily swap it out in case Mostert does okay. But Jeff Wilson, Vultures, Coleman for those touchdowns. I did want to have Wilson mentioned as a rotational player, only 3,300. Mostert is 3,400. Yeah, that's right. I like C-Mac and I like Mike Thomas. So making lineups is going to be tough. Don't want to go over a lot of obvious picks, but like I mentioned before, Marshawn Lattimore is out, and he would be the guy shadowing Mike Evans. So Mike Evans has an easy matchup against the Saints. And yeah, no Lattimore. Otherwise, it would be a tough matchup for Evans. And then we have Chris Godwin, also great matchup. Saints are going to have to pick their poison, which one they want to stop, or maybe don't stop either one, because I am picking Jameis Winston. I got Winston in my experts league. So yeah, maybe just don't stop any one of these guys. And Amari Cooper has the argument's over whether he's good or semi-elite. He's elite now. He's been playing out of control. He's been playing so good. Maybe the Lions focus on stopping Cooper more, because he's been unstoppable this year pretty much. He's always scoring touchdowns, always getting big plays, no dink and dunk stuff. And Michael Gallup has some big play potential. So this is a great pivot from Cooper. Don't think a lot of people will be picking Michael Gallup. I love this matchup. Dak Prescott should have a good game. Who else do we have? Cortland Sutton. If he can get us a touchdown, that would be good. Price at $6,000. Now, not a lot of touchdowns will be coming for the Broncos against the Vikings. Sutton is on a bad team, so he won't be that popular. Just want to mention him. Don't have a ton of confidence in him. Now, a player that's been getting a lot of buzz. I talk to a lot of analysts. A lot of people play DFS. I get to talk to Couch Fam, see who they're talking about, who's popular. And this guy's been getting a ton of buzz. I mean, this could be the most talked about player this week. Matchup is sweet. Falcons defense did great. Like Willie Duga. So people are just talking about this a lot. And DJ Moore is the best wide receiver on the Panthers. But if you look closely, Curtis Samuel isn't that far off. If the Falcons do try to focus on shutting down DJ Moore, easier said than done, because he's a yak type of guy. He'll catch a short pass and take it. And he's very athletic, very fast. Curtis Samuel, you're going to have to get a little bit lucky. I'd say about a 20 to 25% chance Curtis Samuel outperforms DJ Moore. So it's not likely, but I'll tell you what is likely. A lot of people are going to be picking DJ Moore. So a cool pivot from that would be going, $700 cheaper? $600 cheaper. Curtis Samuel is only $5,300. Same game, same team. It's just the number 2 wide receiver compared to the number 1. So slight downgrade. I'll take it. In GBP, you need a little bit of luck. You need some unlikely things to happen. And moving back up here, we got Calvin Ridley priced at $5,500. Great matchup because, look, the Panthers defense is cool, but their cornerbacks are a bit banged up. He's slated to have a big game. Panthers should focus on stopping Julio Jones. And now that Austin Hooper is out, Sanu is traded, should get a lot more volume. I see him getting double-digit targets, and let's see what he can do with that target share. And Scary Terry, I've been going back and forth with Scary Terry because I think he's basically done now that Dwayne Haskins is quarterback, and he hasn't really done anything since actually week 3, because I'm not counting that Dolphins game really, or whatever. You could say first 3 weeks, first 5 weeks, and then has done nothing. 2 fantasy points, 8 fantasy points, 8 fantasy points last 3 games. But now Haskins is starting to suck a little bit less. He's playing better. Terry McLaurin is supposed to be moved around the formation. That's what the coaches are saying. So let's see what happens. I'm going with Terry McLaurin this week. He used to be picked a lot, but I think people are going to lay off of him. Good matchup against the Jets. But like I said, don't pick too many players from this low-scoring, kind of unpredictable, possibly messy and close game. I like Scary Terry, my favorite player on Washington to pick in this slate. And just want to go super quick over some other cheap picks. D.D. Westbrook, don't have any trust in you, but you're priced only at $4,500 going against the Colts. Nick Foles is back. Does Nick Foles like D.D. Westbrook? He's supposed to. Let's see if the rumors are true. And we have Ted Ginn and Traquan Smith. This is very similar to my Mostert and Jeff Wilson analysis. You know, Mostert is Ted Ginn and Jeff Wilson is Traquan Smith. Both risky, both cheap. Ted Ginn is $4,100 going against the Bucks, and his teammate Traquan Smith, who's now healthy, is only $3,800. And one other contrarian pick. We all know about Crowder. Robbie Anderson, actually not a bad pick. You know, kind of throw your dart, pick one Jets player if you want to. But one that I really like, and he's got a Q next to his name. I don't think he's in actual danger of missing this game. Keep tabs on that. But it's Demaryius Thomas. He gets a decent amount of targets. He got 9 targets against the Giants, 9 against the Patriots. Let's see what he can do. It's going to be tough, but he is cheap, and I don't see a lot of people picking Demaryius. For tight ends, lots of option, but I'll help you get focused here. George Kittle is doubtful, highly unlikely to play. So who's my number 1 tight end? I think it's between Mark Andrews and Darren Waller. I love both these guys, and I think for the price, you want to go with Darren Waller. I see him bouncing back. He actually hasn't done well the last 3 weeks. Not what, we've seen him do, not what we're accustomed to seeing him do. And single-digit fantasy points weeks 8, 9, and 10. I see him bouncing back against the Bengals. The price isn't that bad for a guy like Waller, for a guy with that type of ceiling in this type of matchup. Jared Cook, I like him. If you're picking Breeze, that's a cool stack right there. Price isn't too expensive. I mean, it depends how you look at it. You look at it, oh wait, he's priced, almost elite price. But because of the matchup and because of how he did last week, and I just have a good feeling about Jared Cook, Buccaneers' pass defense is bad. When it comes to any wide receiver, tight end, they're just not good at defending the pass at all. And so that's why I do like Jared Cook. I think Breeze is going to rely on him, and I think they're going to start building that chemistry back up since Breeze is now healthy and playing. Another guy similar to Jared Cook, Greg Olsen, who we've seen flashes of him this year. Look at that, 20 points, 17 points last week. He has a lot of upside. He can get you a lot of touchdowns, and that's what we're hoping for with the Falcons. Against the Falcons, he's 3,900. Eric Ebron or Jack Doyle. I'm always giving the edge to Eric Ebron, even though they're about tied. And so Eric Ebron is $400 cheaper. He's getting the targets, but can he do anything with it? Let's find out. Jack Doyle's been more efficient. Let's see what happens. They're going to need to throw to the tight ends because T.Y. Hilton's out, Paris Campbell's out. Ross Dwelly was the sleeper tight end last week. But I'm actually starting this guy in my season-long leagues because I own George Kittle. The matchup is great. I've been looking at it. He's getting a lot more snaps and a lot more targets than any other tight end. I do see him having a good game against the Cardinals. Now, the floor is extremely low. The floor is terrible. Let's just say the floor is 2 fantasy points. I really do believe that. But the ceiling is amazing. I'd say the ceiling is about 21, 22 fantasy points. He can make some big plays, especially against this Cardinals defense. They allow the most points to tight ends. So he won't be so contrarian as I like it. But he also won't be highly owned because a lot of people were that's not the right guy. A lot of people were expecting him to be good last week against the Seahawks. Got you only 5.4 fantasy points. So some people will be off of him. People like me will be on the Dwelly hype train though. Then we have Tyler Eifert, priced at 3,200. Great matchup against the Raiders. We've seen him do well last week, get a touchdown. He's always been touchdown reliant. Most tight ends are. And between Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith, I'd rather go with Irv Smith because he's cheaper. He's getting targets. Kyle Rudolph just kind of been the touchdown guy. And so Irv Smith in full PPR, super cheap going against the Broncos. No Adam Thielen. He's out, by the way. And for some cheaper options, we have Dawson Knox. That's the Bills tight end going against the Dolphins. And we have Ryan Griffin priced at 2,900. Hey, you could do a lot worse. He's super cheap going against Washington. Chris Herndon is on IR. This week, there are a lot of defenses, but I'll still try to keep it simple. My number one defense is the Vikings D. And it's not even anything to do with their price. Their price is nice, 3,400. I just think they're going to score the most fantasy points. Low scoring game. Broncos won't be able to do much. I love the Vikings coaching staff. Love the way they play. Their defense isn't perfect. Their cornerbacks aren't perfect. You can attack them, but their philosophy and the way they play and the way they're coached, their strategy is very good. And that makes for winning games. And I just don't think the Broncos are going to score a lot of points. It's going to be hectic. A lot of bad things can happen once Brandon Allen starts having to throw the ball. I think they're going to stop the run. Like, no Lindsey's today, no Royce Freeman today. Go ahead and throw it against us. See what happens. A lot of crazy things might happen. Vikings D might score some touchdowns. Now, there are some other elite options, and all 4 defenses above them are elite. Because the Patriots, I was thinking, okay, these guys are really good this week, and now I get news that Alshon is out. Alshon Jeffrey's out. That boosts the Patriots D a lot. They're priced at 3,500, playing in Philadelphia. Now, Matt Stafford is out. Cowboys D gets a boost. They're priced at 3,600, playing in Detroit. Bills D, absolutely love them. One of my favorite defenses, priced at 3,800, going against the Dolphins. Dolphins don't have a lot of players. They traded away all their good players, and some of their other good players are injured. It's just looking better. Suspended. Mark Walton suspended. Drake traded. Preston Williams is out. They're just so banged up. A lot of disaster fees can happen for the Dolphins. And the Niners will bounce back. Their defense is elite. What happened the last time this team faced the Cardinals probably won't happen again. Just wanted to make that clear. One reason I do like the Niners is that they're kind of too expensive, and I don't think a lot of people will be playing them. But yeah, we don't need to be contrarian on defense. But I will sneak in a couple Niners lineups because if they do go off, if they are the highest scoring defense, I don't see anyone else owning them. Or not a lot of people, like maybe like 4% owned, instead of like 14% owned. I say, yeah, about 4% owned in a tournament. And if you want some cheaper options, I got the Ravens D. They've just been playing lights out. And let me give you guys some quick stats here. So if you don't count the Dolphins game, so for weeks 2 to 6, before they traded for Marcus Peters, this defense is averaging 2.6 fantasy points per game. If you count the Dolphins game, so for the first 6 weeks, they've been averaging 3.8 fantasy points per game. Very low. Since the trade, last 3 weeks, averaging 18.3 fantasy points. And this is not all against like crappy teams. Against the Seahawks, 18. Against the Patriots, 13. Against the Bungles, 24. So it's night and day what this defense is doing. And now Lamar Jackson is firing on all cylinders. This whole team is in a groove. It'll be a little bit contrarian. The floor is very low, but the ceiling is high. They've been balling out. And I think it's going to be a tough game for Hyde, for Duke Johnson, and for Deshaun Watson. Like, I'm not saying, okay, you need to bench Deshaun Watson in season long or anything like that. Like, Deshaun Watson still has a ton of upside. And he's one of those quarterbacks that can have 3 bad quarters and then boom, throw 2 touchdowns and get the team back in the game. He's just that good. I think Deshaun Watson's name should at least be considered as far as MVP voting goes as well. And then we have Washington. He's a sneaky one right here. Washington 2,800 going against the Jets. Vegas actually has Washington barely winning this low scoring game. So look, Washington wins the game is what Vegas is saying, and it'll be a low scoring game is what Vegas is saying. We know these two teams are not very good. They're kind of sloppy. They're kind of funny. They're kind of goofy. So a lot of things can happen. A lot of fluky things can happen. And for this price point, if you want to punt on defense, I can't think of anyone better than Washington going up against the Jets. Thank you so much for watching this whole video. Make sure you guys do follow the link below in the description. Head on over to Prolytics. This is the last week they're giving away this 2-week free trial. All you got to do is use promo code COUCH. It also really helps support this channel, guys. Good luck this week in fantasy. Make sure you're subscribed to both YouTube channels, Fantasy Couch, and our second YouTube channel, Fantasy Couch Podcast. Hit me up with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That's up to you, and I'll catch you on the next one.